clap. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna take a shot. Should I take a shot right now?
We'll do it during our podcast. We'll do it during our podcast. Okay.
I'm gonna do mic check real quick.
Mic check.
Go ahead. Is he loud or quiet?
What's up, guys?
You guys are the same.
We're the same? Okay. Erica?
Hello.
Erica's too low.
Hi.
Wait. Who's 3?
I am 3, right?
Yeah, you're 3. You're 3.
Okay. Hello.
Okay.
Hi.
Kyle?
Hello. Testing 1 2.
Wait, am I 2? Oh, I'm 2. You're 1.
Kyle testing 1 2.
Okay. Perfect.
Woo.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's the BoriBros. I'm Kyle.
I'm Dan.
And we have 2 special guests with us today.
Yes.
Could you guys introduce yourself to the fans?
Hi, I'm Erica.
I'm Jen.
Welcome to the show.
We finally have the infamous Jenn from Kyle's story.
Why is it infamous?
Infamous. Yeah, why is it infamous?
It's bad.
What's the definition of it?
Famous and infamous.
Oh, famous. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Infamous is like
You're famous
famous
for a bad reason.
Exactly.
You're famous for a bad reason.
What has he been saying?
What did I say? I don't
Obviously,
know.
I don't know English.
So, guys, before we begin, I want you guys to introduce yourself a little bit and tell our fans about
Fans?
You can say viewers.
What fans?
Viewers.
Yourself.
Could you tell everyone about yourself?
Hi, I'm Erica. I'm Jen's friend from college. We met freshman year, first day of school. I know Kyle and Dan through Jen.
And what do you do?
I'm a product designer.
I'm Jen. I am Erica's friend from college, Kyle's current girlfriend, and I knew Dan from back in Georgia, I think in middle school.
And what do you do?
I'm currently unemployed.
Fun employed?
But like a few days ago, I was a data analyst.
A few days ago.
I like how you say Kyle's current girlfriend, like as if I'm gonna have different girlfriends later.
Or she's going to have a different boyfriend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could go either way.
Yeah.
Well, guys, today we have very interesting topics, attachment styles. So we want to kind of understand what you guys think about attachment styles, what your attachment styles are. We'll let you know what ours is and try to see if we learn anything different, I guess.
Wait.
I think we have to teach.
Yeah.
Do you guys know your attachment styles?
No.
Do you know what attachment styles are?
No.
Okay.
Okay, wait, sorry. Before we start, we gotta take a shot.
Okay.
Kombe.
Yeah. Just for the viewers, this was very last minute planned. We were literally just Erica was sleeping like an hour ago.
Yeah. I don't know. The second that you guys set everything up and the cameras are on, I got so nervous for no reason.
I'm so awkward.
To be honest, I feel more nervous than usual. I think it's
Yeah.
the light and
like
the fact
really
that there's 2
official.
cameras.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have like we can have full conversation with different people too.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's fun.
Yep.
Yeah,
But-
so
Can you guys explain the attachment styles? Like, is it like one of those tests that you take, like love language?
I don't know if there's a test. Did you take a test?
There's like a book on it, and then you can read through like,
The different
Oh.
types.
yeah, and like the, not like symptoms,
But like your like
tendencies.
Oh,
And
okay.
depending on your tendencies, it'll allude to like a certain attachment style that you have.
and are like certain attachment styles a little bit more compatible with other attachment styles?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess like in general, though, attachment styles for people who don't know, and Dan, are more for describe.
it's like how you are like in. It doesn't just have to be romantic, but just all relationships.
Or like like your attachment styles are formed when like growing up, how your parents were with you, and kind of that dynamic. Also, is it bad to like look at the camera?
No,
No,
we
you
want you to
can.
look at the camera.
Okay, so we should look at the camera.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
not
okay.
always, but like
Hey,
It's the audience. It's the audience.
I'm a serial monogamous. I'm a serial monogamous.
and Dan is lonely.
You're making me feel lonely.
I know.
Quack.
Where's the button?
Which one? Hey, Jen already learned the sound pad.
Yeah, we
so I
were
did.
playing with it while you guys were preparing.
So do you guys want to like look up
Yeah,
what
let's
the
look it up.
attachment
Yeah, I'm
styles
gonna look
are?
it up here.
But yeah, they're just generally things that are formed in your childhood and the way that your parents interact with you.
How many attachment styles are there?
4, right?
Like 3 official ones, and then there's like a 4th one that is a little bit more
Fearful,
rare.
avoidant, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's take a pause real quick.
감사합니다.
Don't spill it.
I'm gonna spill it all over the soundboard.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Oh, so it's just us.
All right, where did the alcohol like?
He's the lonely one. Zero monogamous alcohol.
You're infamous.
The infamous.
Okay, well, would you like to read the official what is an attachment style?
Just as a preface,
Professor?
preface. Jenn is a psych major, so she knows a lot about the human psychology. So she talks to me about this all the time and explains these things to me.
A person's attachment style is their specific way of relating to others and relationships. Essentially, our adult attachment style is thought to mirror the dynamics we had with our caregivers as infants and children. There are 4 main adult attachment styles: secure, anxious, avoidant, and fearful avoidant, aka disorganized. The latter 3 are all considered forms of insecure attachment. Secure attachment refers to the ability to form secure, loving relationships with others. Securely attached person can trust others, be trusted, love and accept love, and get close to others with relative ease. Not afraid of intimacy, nor do they feel panicked when their partners need time or space away from them.
I think I'm a secure attachment.
I'm so sorry, I got distracted.
Okay.
Sorry, he's helping me take out my makeup.
Okay, maybe I'll read through it and I'll summarize it because I don't want to read through all of them.
It sounds like we're listening to an audiobook.
Can you give us like a Spark Note version
Yeah,
of
there's
this?
a
Let
Spark
me,
Note
let me
version.
just read this real quick. Secure attachment is someone, they trust people, they're able to form secure, loving relationships, they're not afraid of intimacy, and they're okay with like giving their partners like space and alone time. And then anxious attachment style is oftentimes referred to as being needy or clingy. They get really anxious when their partner is not with them. They have fear of abandonment, and they're worried that their partner will leave them and is always hungry for validation.
Why are you looking at me?
Because you guys are like deep in thought.
Oh, so that's the 3rd main one, and then there's
No, that's the second one.
That's the second one. And then the third
She
one
just
is
read the first one
avoidant.
twice.
The third one is avoidant.
Yeah.
I'm nervous.
Okay. So people with avoidant attachment styles have trouble getting close to others or trusting, and relationships often make them feel suffocated.
And the last one?
The last one is fearful avoidant. I actually don't know this one. It's a combination of anxious and avoidant. People with fearful avoidant attachment both crave affection and want to avoid at all costs. They're reluctant to develop a close romantic relationship, yet at the same time, they have a dire need to feel loved by others. It's also known as disorganized attachment.
Those are the 4 attachment styles.
It sounds like your attachment style can kind of change over time.
Oh,
Oh, it
yeah,
does.
for
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what everything though. Like that's what love language. That's what
Yeah.
MBTI.
Not your horoscope though.
Yeah.
Stars online.
A lot of the time, you kind of want to like move towards being a more secure attachment style. Not that the other ones are like bad to have, but I think that's like the goal. Yeah, ultimately.
I think initially Jenn was a fearful attachment because she told me about how she would like push away
Yeah.
a lot. But now I feel like she's more secure attachment.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I think it was always more avoidant.
Oh, avoidant. Sorry. What was I saying? Fearful.
Well, that was the 4th one.
Oh, that's sorry.
Yeah.
Not that one. Not that one. Yeah, avoidant. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I was definitely more avoidant. I had trouble trusting people, and I always, in the back of my head, would tell myself like everyone's gonna leave anyways, so like don't get too attached. And then definitely like through our relationship, definitely more secure.
They say that it's like when you're dating and you're one of the anxious or avoidant attachment styles, dating like a more secure person can kind of help the other person relearn
How to
and
become secure.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Initially when we were dating, because I was like stuck in my like self-sabotage mode. So I would like, even though there's nothing wrong, I would purposely be like, no, like this is not right. But then over time, I think I am at a secure place.
I mean, knowing you guys in the relationship that you guys are in, I think, yeah, you guys do whatever you guys, like he was just chilling with me yesterday. And, yeah.
Do their own
Yeah.
thing.
I think it's pretty secure.
Yeah.
I think it's always been that way, that we like have our own lives and we're able to chill with other people, but it's more that the way that we communicate now. We're more open about how we're feeling. If we're feeling upset, if we're feeling sad, if we're feeling overworked, we always talk about that so that we can either give them the space that they need or comfort them if they need it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So what are your attachment styles?
Well, I need more examples. Can you?
Yeah,
Examples.
Well, I'm more anxious, but I think that like through therapy and stuff, I'm slowly becoming a little bit more secure just because I'm like healing my inner child. But I would say like the anxiety comes out a lot like when I'm in relationships and even with friendships, I've noticed a little bit too. Sometimes like, for example, like I create a lot of stories in my head, like if they don't respond right away or if it's been like a few hours, I get a little bit more like anxious and I can like feel it in my body. A lot of the time it's kind of like, oh, do they love me? Like those are the thoughts that you kind of have in your head, like, oh, am I like good enough? Things like that.
Do you think generally you've been in relationships with avoidant or anxious or like what is an attachment style you've been?
Yeah, well, a thing that apparently happens is that anxiously attached people and avoidantly attached people tend to like really like
gravitate
towards each other because they're both like the anxious person, like the people who are avoidant still want love. It's just that the way that they get overwhelmed kind of easily by it. But then I'm trying to think through like why they're.
I think because like the reason why you become anxious is because your caregiver was avoidant when you're younger, and so in that way you're seeking that type of person in the avoidant, but then it just like doesn't work out.
Yeah,
I see.
I think my first ex was more secure, and the second was also secure, and my most recent person. It feels weird talking. I mean, okay, whatever. And then my like third ex was definitely more avoidant, and so I think that in a lot of ways that made me even more anxious. And yeah.
So because your first two exes were more secure attachments, like just based on the attachment styles, why do you think that it didn't work out?
Oh. Well, I think that I was really anxious.
Oh, I see.
And I think it might have been a little bit overwhelming. And I also think there's like a lot of other factors that like play into why the relationship didn't work out. But I think just like thinking back to those relationships, because I've been reflecting a lot more lately.
That's good.
Like they always showed that they like loved me and cared for me. And they were really good about, I guess, like taking my love and my anxiety almost, but I think it might have been overwhelming, and also again like just like other factors like kind of play into it.
I see.
But yeah.
Okay, so now you have three different examples.
I think I am anxious too, but more so in that like friendship standpoint. I'm not quite sure how it is in terms of dating. It's just been so long. Like I told him that like I have a problem with overthinking about what other people are thinking about me.
I guess overthinking might be like a symptom of the anxious attachment style.
Yeah, maybe.
I think avoidance also overthink too.
Oh,
and
really?
that I think it's just the way we act or react to situations is anxious like tend to cling on more, and then avoidance, when they overthink, they'll just like completely avoid it and be like, I'll just deal with it later kind of thing.
So do you think like the secure attachment style like doesn't think as much, like overthink?
I think they do, but I think they know how to like communicate it and address it.
So they don't overthink because they're trying to figure out the solution already.
But like they will make it known, like they will communicate out. Cause of overthinking is because like you're thinking to yourself, you're not really communicating out what you're thinking about, and like you're creating a scenario and things like that are not typically good, right?
Right.
I think this type of attachment style came from me growing up as an insecure guy. Especially I would like just compare myself to my friends, and my friends were very confident, like they're like leaders and stuff like that, and I would just be like following them and things like that. So
that makes sense. That makes sense.
What about like during your 6-year-long relationship?
So I think that's when I grew the most in terms of attachment style. It had that crossing point. I talked about it in the last episode about how I was very insecure in the beginning of the relationship. I was like a simp that would do everything and anything to make sure that person stays in my life, right? And then that kind of built the standard that I couldn't keep up throughout the relationship. And I guess like I was becoming more confident in myself and a little bit secure in a way that I didn't need like all the validations that like I used to, because I was confident that this person like loves me and things like that. And it also comes with like who you're with, whether that person gives you enough assurance and communicate with you and things like that.
That's true.
That's why I think that like if you're in a relationship with a secure person, it's really good because they're very good at meeting those needs that you have, and then you slowly like learn to trust them more, and you kind of grow to be a bit more secure.
Do you guys think you're on your journey to becoming secure attachments? I know you kind of talked about it. How about you?
Like compared to like even a year ago, I think I'm much more satisfied with my life and like myself in general. So I would say I'm still learning, but hopefully it's more towards the secured attachment style.
Yeah. I feel like though, it's like a lot of these things that I talk about and think about it's easier to like think about it, but then when I'm actually in the situation, like whenever I do get into my next relationship, I don't know how things are going to manifest. And so there's still going to be a lot of triggers, I think. And I think like, it's like when people say that you can only grow so much when you're like single. And then once you're in a relationship, that's like when it really tests you. And then you can kind of see how much you've grown. So I don't know. I feel like I'm in therapy, I'm handling like insecurity and just like learning to like love myself more and like forgive myself more. So I'm hoping that with my next relationship, it manifests in a good way where I am more secure and I don't need as much like reassurance, and I'm secure in the relationship and I trust the partner more, things like that. But we'll see, TBD.
She'll come back.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Go back.
So Erica, you're kind of working on it through therapy.
Yeah.
What are you, Daniel, working on in terms of?
He just learned what it was today. Had no idea before this. What are you doing right now?
What are you doing to fix yourself?
I guess not. But do you think like
Lonely.
He's not working on himself.
Anxious.
no? I think.
Oh, sorry.
괜찮아?
Okay, so
I think he's like his move to New York kind of forced him into kind of taking leadership over his own life, which I think might lead to like a secure attachment style. Do you think there are other things that, you know, without knowing about attachment styles, do you think that there are things in your life that you're working on that's kind of leading you to that point?
just being independent itself, like you said, deciding to move to New York was a huge change in my life. I think back in Georgia, especially after the breakup, I didn't really have that many friends around. So I think that also caused the overthinking of like, because there's no one really to talk about it with, and there's no one to like, you know, kind of bring me out and stop that overthinking. But now like I'm here, like I'm hanging out with you, I'm like hanging out with you guys. There's like less time about me like overthinking about those kind of things.
I see.
But going back, like, yeah, me being independent and, you know, trying to be okay, like being by myself and loving myself and things like that, I guess.
Cool.
That's helped a lot.
That's good.
I have a question.
Okay.
Wait, off camera or on
Oh,
camera?
I should be. I think it's for on camera.
Okay.
Also, your dog is licking my foot.
Oreos on the table.
Do you guys think your your attachment styles make sense with your parents and how they gave you love?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No,
I
yeah,
was going to
that's
say, I think that's a good question because I think that the way we were talking about it, I don't know if it, like the way that you heal it, I think you have to really look back in your childhood as opposed to like being more independent. Like I think that those things definitely help, but I would say, sorry, TLDR, that was a good question.
Yeah, a lot of the things that like are from or developed during your childhood, it's kind of discouraging, but it's like you can only really heal it at that time, like in your childhood. So it's like no matter how much we try as an adult, there's like only a limit to what we can do. So it's like that healing your inner child work.
Yeah.
And talking to your inner child to figure out like what were their needs and how were they not met. How can you help improve those needs now? So I'm curious like how your relationship with your parents were growing up. What was the way they like gave you guys like love and attention, and if that's aligned with like your attachment style.
Who should go first?
For anything else, you drank one shot, right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna turn red. I'm literally gonna turn red.
I'm just making sure. You're
Okay. Wait, am I red already? Is that why you're?
You're really, really red.
You should use her makeup.
Can we change? Can we color correct in the video
Just
a
your
little bit?
I'll just mask your face.
Yeah.
I'm just making fun of you. Because you always make fun of me.
I like listening to stories about Kyle's parents.
Oh
I
yeah,
feel
me
like
too.
Kyle should go first.
Yeah.
Actually, never heard about it.
It's beautiful.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Sorry to put you on the spot like that, but
He was literally like, who should go first?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Well, what do you guys want to know? Like specifically?
I guess like your childhood, your relationship with your parents as a child, and then like how they are now.
Mm-hmm. I think growing up, my dad was working a lot because he just started in the fire department and kind of making his years. So he had kind of a random schedule. So I didn't have a lot of time to spend with him. But whenever he could, he would always take me to my, judo practice or golf lessons or things like that. My mom also worked a lot. She was a teacher, so she had kind of like a 9 to 5 every day. So it was mostly my grandparents, actually, now I'm thinking about it, that
Oh. I never
that
thought
would
about
take
it.
me to actually most of my lessons that I had. And I mean, I was closest to my grandma, I think. Whenever I was at home, I would always like yell to her. I'm like, whenever I get in trouble with my mom or my dad, I would be like, Grandma, because she
For
lives.
context, their houses are right next to each other.
Yeah,
Oh, they don't live together, but they
The
live next
houses
to
are
each
literally
other.
right
They
next
live
to each
together.
other.
I'd be like, Grandma, Grandma, and then she'd be like, Kyle, come, and I'd go and run over and I'd get to watch TV and
Yeah.
stuff. And then my mom would call,
She'd
and then
be worried.
she'd be like, "Where's Kyle?" But yeah, I was closest with my grandma. With my mom, I would make her mad a lot. Just like it kind of reminds me of like when Jenn gets angry because because it's like if I didn't do something or if I'm not like taking care of my responsibilities and being disciplined, like she'll kind of get upset there. My dad was actually a lot better about scolding me and then talking to me about it
Yeah.
after. I think initially like both of us would be angry and like have like a lot of emotions, but after all of that settles and I'm like crying in my room, like in my pillow, like he would eventually come in when I'm quiet.
Yeah.
And then he'd talk to me. It's like, like I only do these things and scold you because I love you, right?
Oh,
And it's like,
that's where the secure
I'm
comes.
trying
He
to-
apologized.
And he
Yeah,
apologized like,
apologize.
Never
I'm
heard
sorry,
of.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh.
And so my mom never really did that too
Your
much.
dad did it.
But my mom showed me love in other ways. Yeah, for sure.
What about, I think what I really like to hear was when you talked about your parents' relationship together, because I also feel like observing how your parents were growing up can also play a role in like how you view love.
I think growing up, I didn't really, I wasn't super observant about what my parents were doing. I thought they were just parents and
Yeah.
they just do what they're supposed to do. Looking back though, I think it's interesting hearing about other parents' relationships and how they kind of work versus my parents who like do a lot of things together. Like they go to the grocery store together. They sometimes cook together. They clean dishes together. They balance out who does the chores on what day. But I mean, my dad's like the typical dad. He'll come home and like he'll like open a beer and like watch TV. but then he also cooked the most, which was interesting.
Yeah.
He's like the main cook. My grandma used to cook a lot. My mom cooks maybe like every 3 times. I don't know.
Should. She's
Yeah.
tired.
Or she gets us takeout.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. She goes and grabs the takeout. But yeah, my dad was really a strong figure in my family, and he really like took care and got everything done.
Yeah.
So
We have movie nights every day after dinner.
right.
It's really important to his dad.
Hmm.
That's cute.
My dad always falls asleep when we watch movies.
Mine too.
I mean, his dad too.
Mine too. It was like a tradition, but my dad would literally always fall asleep, and I would wonder like, why are we
doing this?
I mean, I like the movie, but like, why does he fall asleep? But you don't think about how much they do every day.
Yeah.
Like how much work he does, especially like thinking back how he cooks. He's also like going to work and then buying the groceries. Like he did a lot, and that now it makes sense why he would
Yeah.
like fall
Yeah.
asleep. Because I would.
It's like he still wants to spend time,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
then
yeah.
he can't.
Yeah, I
He's
guess.
trying.
Falls asleep. Yeah, he tries his best. It's a relaxing way to spend time.
But my parents would also like not be like, you have to spend time with us all the
Yeah.
time. Like he would like they would give us our space
Yeah.
too.
I'm learning a lot more about you
Yeah,
Aw.
good.
through this podcast. Well, it makes sense, right? We only known each other for 2 months.
Yeah.
Wow. It seems
I mean,
longer.
that was one of the points of this
only 2
podcast.
months?
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Well, they hang out like every day.
Yeah.
My only friend.
Same for him too.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about your
My parents?
your upbringing?
Man, I really haven't thought too much about this for a long time, actually. Because I haven't been living with my parents for a really long time. Ever since I graduated from college, I always lived by myself. Like, I would just see them occasionally. Like, every month I would go over and see them and things like that. Now I can't even do that anymore because they live in Georgia. But I guess growing up, there were like two phases, right? Like, when I was in Korea and when I came to the States.
Oh.
In Korea, they were pretty strict. But I think, like, before my sister was born, they really did a lot to, like, make sure I have good childhood memories. Like, they would try to provide the best things possible, which I don't remember because I was I was too young, right? Like, they would take me to Disney World. Like, they would do all these things. I just know it by the pictures.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate, right? Like looking at that, it does make me feel like I was taken care of. But growing up in Korea, I think they were bit strict in terms of making sure I was doing all the things that I needed to do. By the way, like, this was when I was in elementary school, right? But you have to go to like Hagwon. Do you know what Hagwon is? It's like after school.
Like the
program.
academy. Remember?
Oh, I see. Kumon.
Yeah.
And Uyongu, remember when like the little kids would have to like be
Oh my god, you used to do that?
in classes?
So I
used to go to Hagwon too. Yeah.
Like after school ends.
Oh
at, like,
my god.
Or on Saturdays too.
Yeah. So in Korea, they take recycling very seriously. So when you're living in an apartment, there's like a designated area where you do recycles and stuff. Every time I did that, like, that's how I get my allowance. So I went out one time to do recycle and I met my friend. And then, like, we just decided to, like, grab ice cream from a market and, like, chill at the playground. And then I went back in and it was a little bit later than, like, expected, right? Because my parents thought that I just went to go recycle. And then, like, my mom had all these, like, academy, like, books open, like, that I didn't solve.
That's scary.
And I was
This
like,
is literally like the
scary.
stereotypical like
No, but-
strict mom.
But
I
that's
think that's how-
normal.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's normal in Korean.
That's
Yeah.
so crazy.
I was 4th grade.
Oh, little
Wanted
Daniel.
to go eat ice cream, had to go back solve math problems.
Once we moved to the States, they let me what I wanted to do, especially because I was the first kid in the States. And they also didn't know, like, the process of growing up in the States, like SAT, like those things,
God.
like college admissions.
Yeah.
They didn't know anything, and I had to eventually figure it out. So I think they were more understanding.
Can I ask for something real quick?
Go ahead.
So when Jen was young, she had to do a lot for her parents in terms of like talking to people, making sure that appointments were met, or like translating essentially. Like she like says like her job was like a translator. She already lived as a translator.
Like when you came to the States?
Yeah, like as a child, my full job was being a translator.
Yeah.
Basically.
As a child, my full-time job.
Yeah. I have actually
Child
like
labor.
20 years of experience.
As a translator.
Yeah.
That's true when you think about it.
Yeah.
So did you have to kind of take on those kinds of responsibilities as an adult, or did your parents kind of
So I think when I first came here, they tried their best not to depend on me because they knew, like, I had my own issues, I had my own problems. So they were very more understanding if I didn't want to do certain things. Like, I didn't know it back then, but because he didn't go to college here or anything like that, it was harder for him to get a job here. And he did more like a physical labor when he moved here, like when we moved here. You know, as I was growing up, as I like found out everything that they went through, in order for me to have that freedom and not have to go through, because in Korea, like, education system is very
rigorous?
that and like very
Strict.
competitive. They make that ultimate decision to give up everything they had in Korea to move to not New York, but to States, just for me and my sister to have that freedom of like deciding what we want to do and like more job opportunities and things like that. So I do appreciate that. It's like all the things that I didn't know growing up that I ended up realizing. We would talk about like why things were like what they were. I'm not sure if it like correlates with my
So
current
like how were
attachment style.
they, so let's say in the scenario that your mom was upset with you, was she like avoiding you, or was she avoidant when she was angry? Like she would give you the stonewall, or she would kind of give you the silent treatment, or would she just kind of blow up on you? What was the dynamic when she was like upset?
My mom really didn't express her anger towards me. Mostly my dad, but especially in Korea, he didn't really do much in the States. And like now I look back, it's very, very understandable why they were mad. You know, like I was a bratty kid, like I was rebellious. So it makes sense that like, you know, like I get angry by Oreo doing something wrong. Like I definitely understand where they're coming from.
I hear your mom's voice every time you say Oreo.
So what was the question?
So I guess like
we're just trying to figure.
So your mom's. So you said your mom would not really express when she was angry, but could you still feel that like she was upset at you?
Oh.
Yeah,
And would that
stonewalling.
make you feel anxious? Like would you tiptoe around her?
Yeah.
Yunchiba?
Try to avoid her as much as I could and lock my door, hide in my room. You know, I think because I thought a lot about like what other people thinks about me. Back in high school, like you want to be cool. You don't want your parents telling you what to do. I think that also caused me to kind of avoid my parents and like affections that they were trying to show me. I cared more about what other friends would think about rather than like my parents would. So I think that's the cause of anxious attachment style, not through my parents, but like what I thought was important at the time, like which was my friend's perspective, not my parents' perspective.
You spent more time with your friends, so that makes sense.
Or I just wanted to be cool. Jenn, what was your perspective of me in high school?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because you knew me when I was growing up, and you knew me at those times.
To be honest, I feel like you kind of showed up out of nowhere. So I don't, because I knew like Hami and Steven from before.
Yeah.
And then like you guys had already known each other. So I was like, did I like miss a few episodes? Like, what's going on? I mean, I thought you were just like nice. You were definitely someone that was like more comfortable with than
I think
your other friends. They're a little more intimidated.
Being nice too came from if I showed any kind of like things that they didn't like, that I had that fear of them leaving. So it made me feel like obligated to like just be nice, just be a simp.
Just be simp.
Just be a simp.
Can I ask you something?
Go ahead.
Did you feel this way when you lived in Korea?
Not really.
With your friends? Okay.
That's probably
This makes sense. This is starting to make sense because when you moved to the States, like you didn't know as much English back then, right? And like usually with people who move, I feel like they have a little bit more anxiety because they don't know the native language.
Yeah.
I mean, I would if I moved to
Culture.
Korea.
Identity crisis.
Yeah.
Also because like I didn't really know, like I came here in 5th grade, 6th grade. I didn't know anyone here, but like everyone had friends around.
Exactly.
I was in a place where I was trying to fit into already formed groups.
Yeah.
So I think that also.
Were you able to process that you literally moved to another country when you were younger?
Like US wasn't like that foreign to me because I lived in Florida for like a.
So you did live in Florida.
Yeah, but I don't think I told you that though.
You made me feel like I was crazy for remembering that detail.
But did I tell you though?
I feel like maybe back when I first met you.
Maybe.
We just gaslit her.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So what are you talking about?
Yeah,
You're like, I lived in Korea and California, maybe.
Well, the question was, where did you live before Georgia? So California.
Wait, so you were in Florida before Georgia, though.
So I was in Florida when I was in kindergarten.
And then you guys moved back to Korea?
It was like me, my sister, and my mom
Oh.
staying at my mom's friend's place for
I
a
see.
couple months.
Oh.
And then I went to kindergarten there and things like that. So
Why? Can I ask
Just
why?
like more learning opportunity, like English, and I think
common.
maybe
Okay.
like my mom wanted to visit her friend, or
Oh, okay.
On a vacation.
Vacation in
Get away from
Florida.
everyone.
when I was growing up in elementary school, I'll tell like my friends, oh, like I lived in the States. It felt really long time growing up, but it was only like 3 or 4 months.
like, wow, so
Yeah.
cool.
I lived in the States.
I know English,
Yeah.
so everyone like
Hello.
English homework, they're
My
like,
name
can you help
is-
me?
yeah, and my mom also taught English at English Hagwon.
Oh, okay.
So-
Okay, wait, that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Why you didn't like really have to be the translator because she knew English
Yeah,
already.
and then my parents like went to college in States.
Oh, wait. I thought you said your
Yeah.
dad.
Like
What is going
Oh,
on?
dude, he's
What is going on?
straight up
What is
gaslighting us.
What's the truth?
hold on.
What's the truth?
I think they did like a study abroad or something like that,
Oh,
and then like they
But
met.
they got their degree though.
In
It's like
Korea.
Yeah, in Korea, but
they
I-
studied here for a little bit.
yeah, because I know they met in Florida.
oh.
See?
So
Interesting.
Yes.
what's the truth, mom?
I know who
Tell me,
likes
Mom.
you. So for my attachment style, I think I was avoidant attachment for most of my life. And to tie back to like how my relationship was with my parents. So I definitely, for the longest time, I thought that a lot of my emotional trauma or just issues I had as a child like came from my dad. But then more recently in therapy, I had a revelation that it was more so from my mom and like my relationship with my mom. And so my mom, you know, similar to Daniel, we immigrated to the US. I was 3. My parents like did not speak English at all. Like we talked about before, like I was translating everything for them. I have an older brother, but they were a little more easy with him because he came here when he was like 7 or 8. So they didn't want to give him the pressure of like, you have to hurry up and learn English. Whereas like for me, because I came at 3, it was like, well, you're basically born here. Like English should come more naturally to you. So there was a lot more pressure on me to be like the translator, to figure out like making appointments, taking phone calls, pretending to be my mom when I'm like 5 years old. Like that was so much anxiety. And I think it's like a lot of generational trauma too. But I think women in Korea, like in her generation, like there was no concept of mental health and getting help for your mental health. And on top of that, she grew up in a Christian household. So a lot of times the answer to like depression or anxiety was like, oh, just pray more, you know?
Amen.
And definitely there was like a lot of that trickled down to me too when I was growing up. But because of that, she had a lot of like unresolved emotional issues. She also didn't know how to express her emotions in a healthy way. So she resorted to stonewalling. She would just not talk to me for like days. She would still like cook for me and like do things, but we would just not talk. And then all of a sudden, like a few days later, she would just be back to normal. And then she would not be upset at me. And at the time, this kind of got me conditioned to always want to be like the best child, like always performing, always seeking their validation. And so like I would always be tiptoeing around her. If I felt like her mood was slightly off, I would either like hide in my room, make sure I'm like away from her. I would make sure that I'm on my best behavior, things like that. I think the way she like reacts to stressful situations and like even the way she like gets anxious about things, I like find in myself. So like even with Kyle, like when we get into an argument or when I get really upset, my first initial reaction is to kind of like shut down, and I have to like go to my room and just get alone time, because it takes me a really long time to like process, and I'd rather just like not talk about it. So I was very avoidant, and even to this day, like it's not like it's just gone. That's still how I initially confront my problems.
I mean, I think this is my fault, but you like nag me a lot about like very specific things, like closing the cabinets, which I've started to do better recently.
Funny story though from that.
Oh no.
Tell us.
So like basically for the longest time, Carl would have this habit of like opening cabinet doors and then not closing them. And I told him like, that's really dangerous. Like you need to make sure you close them, because you're either going to hit your head or someone else walking by will. And then when Kyle visited my house in Georgia, he was doing that at my house too. So my mom called him out for it too. I was like, this is very dangerous. And then he was like, yeah. And then like a month ago or something.
Something very traumatic happened.
I was getting ready in the bathroom.
We're going to go see my friends.
Yeah, like in an hour.
Yeah.
And then so I was looking into the mirror, like doing my makeup, and then behind me in the wall, there's like a medicine cabinet. And so I guess he had come in to like grab something, and he left that cabinet door completely open. And so after I had finished my makeup, I literally just turned around, and I like the corner of the door just like completely banged into my forehead. I like blacked out and fell on the floor. There's this huge...
It was really big.
Yeah. And then I like don't remember. I
remember seeing it. I'm like, it's fine.
No,
I got ice. It was really big.
It was like this big.
But I grabbed ice really quick, so it went down fast. But I was like, no, it's fine.
Yeah. And I was literally just crying on the floor. Like the floor had like tear stains, because it was just like, it was so painful. And I was honestly just so infuriated. It's like, I told you so many times. Like I knew this was gonna happen. And then so that's why I nag him, because it's dangerous.
So did it fix your habit?
Yeah, I think it did.
Yeah, I traumatized myself.
Yeah.
What a bad way to fix a problem.
It worked. He's so stressed.
Yeah.
He felt really bad that day.
Yeah, I was icing her head the entire day.
Yeah.
Like I didn't stop. I was like, can I get you painkiller? Can I get you water?
I was also just being really dramatic because I thought I was gonna have a black eye.
Yeah.
Because I thought I was just gonna be ugly for like a few days. So I was like, oh my god, I'm
trauma.
gonna be ugly.
No, but the next day, because I kept icing it on and off, it
that was
actually
good.
Was
pretty
you
much
okay?
You couldn't
barely
really notice.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Why did we talk about that?
This is
so
a
It was
thing.
supposed to be about your
something about me
other
nagging
type-
you.
or,
Oh
like,
yeah,
other
nagging,
tendencies.
yeah.
Oh, I get like anxious really easily
Yeah.
for like little small things. So I think me and Kyle are very interesting because it's like, and this is like something I learned from my mom too, but it's like we get really anxious about little things that are in hindsight not that important. So things like leaving his socks on the ground,
Yeah.
like just seeing that like makes me like
Maybe it's because you had to be like the perfect child growing up.
maybe. And like my mom had that pressure on me or like
Yeah.
that expectation for me. But whereas like when there's something big happening, like me getting laid off this week,
Yeah.
I'm like actually more like not.
Yeah.
Because maybe I used up all my anxiety on the
think
small
so.
stuff that I'm just like out of it by the time something important happens. Whereas I feel like for Kyle it's like the reverse. Like the little things don't bother him as much, but then when there's like a big situation that happens, he gets you almost like get paralyzed, I feel like, from your decision.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Erica?
I got nervous all of a sudden.
Me too.
You want to take a shot?
I'll just make a little bit.
Small girl takes small shot.
Small goal.
Cheers.
Thank you. Oh wait, why does it
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kyle doesn't drink water.
Daughter.
I drink Boricha.
All for her.
Oh, that was our solution.
Yeah,
BoriBros.
Do you need a flavor in your water? That's why.
kind of. Yeah, I think it's
Oh,
because
yeah.
I grew up drinking Arizona my entire life.
That's not water.
It is.
Is Arizona still $2.99 or something?
99 cents?
Oh, 99
Yeah.
cents. Sorry.
It's $1.99 now.
No, really?
No,
that's,
$1.49.
that's for the big ones. I think.
$1.49.
The cans are still
small
99
can.
cents. They
No.
can never.
No, I think they
That's
changed
part of their
it.
marketing, no?
Yeah.
I think they changed it.
Oh, someone fact check him.
Or
Viewers fact
You
check
have
him
to-
and then cancel him.
one gets canceled, they both get canceled.
All right, Erica.
How about you, Erica?
Best for last.
Do you think your attachment style aligns with how you were with your parents or how your parents were?
Yeah, I would say that the anxiety or the anxious part of it probably comes from like growing up when I was really young. I was pretty close to like my dad and my mom, obviously. But then there was like a period of my life for a few years when I was in middle school. My dad wasn't at home. He was living in Chicago for work and stuff. And then I think during that time,
Wait, hold on.
it's
Sorry. Oh, we had the water break too.
okay.
One time somebody listening on Spotify. My dog is.
Drinking the waters.
Yes.
Maybe I think probably during that time is where maybe my more anxious side came out, because for me it didn't really make sense to me as much, like why my dad was like in Chicago, and then I also wasn't as close to him anymore. And I think in general too, he's very quiet, and so both of my parents also just don't say like I love you, and we didn't really hug when we were younger. And I think similarly to like Jen, for me too, I think I had to tiptoe a lot around my mom in particular, because when she gets mad, she's very explosive and kind of like a firework. And so a lot of my anxiety came from having to kind of maneuver like how she was feeling, and like kind of being really in tune with like, okay, like if I do this day, like I know that she'll be happy later, things like that. And so it's like tiptoeing a lot around them.
Yep.
And then again, like with my dad, I think being in Chicago and them also not expressing their love that much, I think a lot of me was like, do they love me? Like, am I loved? And so growing up, that was kind of like a common theme. But the thing is, like, they showed their love in a lot of other ways. Like, they provided, I think because they were so focused on survival, the way that they showed love was like providing like a home for us, clothes. Like, I would also go to Hagwon, and I would do tennis lessons. Like they did it in like monetary ways and also like physical ways, but not so much emotional. So I think just growing up like that. And then I think similarly to you, kind of, is like when I was in elementary school, I went to like a school with a lot more Asian people. And then I moved to a neighborhood that was a lot less Asian people. So I kind of like really disliked myself because I was like, oh, I'm Asian, I don't really fit in, things like that. So I feel like that probably played a role into the whole like, am I loved narrative. Yeah, that's like a quick TLDR. Had a relative, but I think now that I'm older, it's a lot more different in that like we express our love a little bit more, and like we hug each other, and I'll say like love you on the phone and things like that. But growing up, that was kind of like the dynamic.
My mom was also very explosive with her anger. Do you think your mom changed as you grew older?
She did not, but because I think it's really hard. Oh, like I think this is what I was gonna say earlier. That's similar to like Jen's parents, is that like mental health wasn't really a thing for them, and so they don't really understand. And I think my mom just has a lot of anxiety, but it manifests in like anger and like being really explosive. But the way that I'm kind of like mediating that through therapy is just like learning to control my own feelings and like setting intentions and boundaries. Because at the end of the day, like my mom at this point is a lot older. Not to say that you can't do therapy and you can't fix these things once you're older, but I think she just has a lot of other things going on in her life. So she can't really, she doesn't have the luxury to focus on it as much.
Yeah. It's hard for them to find a therapist that speaks and understands Korean culture, upbringing. So in that sense, like I kind of feel bad because like we're privileged to like find help and get the help that we need. And
they can't.
Yeah, they can't.
Yeah. And I think like for me too, like when I was younger, I didn't have to do this as much, but now that I'm older, it's kind of confusing. Like I'm having to help them a lot more now in terms of translating things. But then, and I did it a little bit when I was a kid, but I think a lot of that grew into like resentment too for my parents. And talked to my therapist about this, and he was just saying how like it like makes sense because like when you're younger, your parents are supposed to be the ones like parenting you and taking care of you, but then I feel like I had to do a lot of things by myself. Yeah. And so all that plays into who I am.
Inner child.
My inner child. She's healing now. That's all that matters. Work in progress, as always. But yeah.
Just part of growing up, I guess. Yep.
And that's a great segue into our sponsor for the day, BetterHelp. Which resource did you use to find?
My therapist. I used a website called alma.com.
So when was the first time you guys approached therapist, and then what caused it? Like what was the reasoning behind? Because I think I was trying to like hide my like vulnerabilities and things like that. So I never really like accepted like if I was hurt or if I was going through some mental like issues, like I didn't want to accept that, right? And I think even to this day, like that still holds true.
I think the best time to get therapy is when you don't think you need therapy. Because I think it's always better to be preventative than to wait for something or for you to hit a rock bottom and then desperately seek help. It's like, wouldn't you rather be equipped with tools and like the way to regulate before? But I think I like went to... I actually used BetterHelp, and I actually think I was like a lucky one. But even before that, when I was in high school, I saw actually like a psychiatrist, and it was more so because like I didn't know how to like regulate my anxiety, and it was to the point where like when I was taking SATs, I would just like be paralyzed, like I couldn't take anything, or I couldn't like read anything. I was like sweating, and I was also having a lot of like negative thoughts and things like that. So like it was like when my mom actually saw it like impacting my day-to-day life, she like was like, okay, you need help. But then I think more so like in my adult life, what really there was like triggering events that made me feel like I need to get help. But more so it was like when I saw patterns from my childhood and things, it's like over time, it's like these same negative patterns keep manifesting in my life. I'm like, oh, I really need to fix this because it's not like, because like maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, I thought like, oh, I'm better. But then seeing like recently, like the same negative behaviors, same thought patterns are like all coming back. It's like, I don't want to like keep holding on to this until like I'm 30, or like if I decide to get married or if I decide to have children, like I want to break that generational trauma before I like continue to move on and like grow.
That makes sense.
I would say for me, she described my situation perfectly in that I waited until I was hitting rock bottom. Because I always said like, oh, I want therapy because I always had anxiety growing up and like even now. But it wasn't until like 2-3 months ago where I actually hit like probably like the lowest point that I felt in a really long time. And then I was like getting anxiety attacks and panic attacks, which like I hadn't gotten a panic attack in like a few years, but then I was having them like multiple times in a week at one point because like I think a lot of it came from like my job. I was really unhappy at my job. I have like something like happened with my grandpa that was causing a lot of anxiety. And then also like I was going through my breakup. My relationship wasn't doing too hot. In the past, I knew that I needed therapy because like the way that my anxious attachment style and my anxiety would manifest was like I noticed it a lot in relationships, and like I didn't like that version of myself. But then basically there's like this 1 week where I straight up had to like I told my manager, I was like, I literally can't work for this week because I have so much anxiety and I'm getting panic attacks. And then I ended up like, I hit rock bottom, and that made me finally like reach out to a therapist. And my therapy, like it was a consultation call, and I cried. It was just to see if I was compatible with this therapist, but I cried during it. And I was just like, you could like feel he could feel the anxiety coming out of me like during that consultation call. So that was what happened. But I do think that like what Jen said was like the best way to go about it, because like it takes time to find like a good therapist. And I was really lucky in that the first call that I had, I just stuck to it because I literally was like, I need you. I need you. And he ended up being like a really good therapist, and he's still my therapist now. But being preventative about it, if you can, is definitely the best way to go, because that was like the worst period of my life.
Don't recommend.
Do not, 10 out of 10, don't recommend. Glad I did it. Adds to the character. Yeah. 10 out of 10, don't recommend.
So it's opposite.
Yeah. Adds to the story of who I am. But if you can, don't do that.
I think there were moments that I needed it. Just like, it was very hard to kind of open that up. I did hit the rock bottom like after the breakup. And I was like alone, and I didn't really have anyone to talk about it with. And then like again, like I had negative thoughts, and ultimately just somehow came up. And then but
You should get therapy.
I think everyone should get therapy.
I think the general consensus, like what public people like assume, is that like you have issues if you go see therapy, but it is not that, right?
Yeah.
I realized that more like when I came to New York. It's more common here that like people are seeking for help and just being preventative and things like that. Whereas in Georgia, well, I don't know what people in Georgia did because I didn't have friends.
No, but definitely I think suburbs, or like small town.
It's like conservative, like they're like
Or
more to
hush
themselves.
hush, yeah.
They like they just try to portray themselves as like this perfect being, but being person.
Yeah, being
being.
perfect
Yeah,
being.
perfect being.
Yeah, perfect being.
But yeah,
Perfect.
no, I appreciate.
Sorry.
You're perfect.
Thanks, Daniel.
You're not red anymore, by the way.
I'm not, oh yeah, I noticed.
What were you gonna say though?
Is that
Nothing. Nothing. Just forget I ever
Forget I
uttered
exist.
a word.
What about you
TLDR,
though?
therapy implications. That's what he does instead of therapy. Peace signs.
No, I
I mean,
actually have gone to therapy.
Yeah, and you say you talked a lot to Jen about like your issues and your problems. And
Yeah. She's my second therapist. Well, she's technically my first therapist, but
You actually got released from therapy.
yeah, I did.
It's because he was too
Yeah.
overwhelmed. No, I'm kidding.
It's because I was getting too chill.
The therapist was like, he's a little too much.
I don't even get paid for this.
Yeah.
I think this is a good end to this podcast.
I think this conversation was awesome as well.
You know, I
And
think
Thank you.
extraordinary.
Thank you.
like we said in the beginning, this was a very like spontaneous episode because we didn't originally plan to record it today, and we didn't even talk about the topics until we recorded. I didn't even know what the attachment styles were. We just talked about it during lunch to record it someday.
Yeah.
Didn't know it was gonna end up today. So,
We couldn't study beforehand.
Yeah.
but learned a lot, unlocked new memories.
Yeah. Thank you guys for all your experience. And
Thanks for inviting us.
Of course.
I'll get you guys.
Will we
free.
be invited again?
Yes,
Okay.
Take over this podcast.
Yeah.
Body girls.
Gory girls.
Girls.
No, we're the anxious girls.
So guys, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and leave comments down below.
Yeah, give us
And,
feedbacks.
And give us feedback, yeah, because this is what, our 4th episode.
This is our 3rd episode, sir.
Is it 3rd?
Yes.
But yeah, thank you guys again for watching. And this is
BoriBros.
Love ya.
Love ya.
Love ya.
Love you. Bye bye.